It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know.
News update.
This is what's trending with DJ and PK.
Chris Paul with his head on a swivel and white tights and a white sleeve on his left arm with a navy blue uniform. Gives to Klay Thompson. Klay takes one dribble to his left, fires, retreats. He's on fire, and he knows it. He's backpedaling like Klay Thompson does when Klay Thompson gets into the zone. 20 for the Cougar. Klay having a monster first half. He works the left-hand dribble off a double stagger, right to left, launches into a three, hits. Oh, he is thrown at a hula hoop right now. It looks so easy for Klay. Keontae on the push. Cross-court pass to Hendricks. Swings to the top to Juzang. Number 6? Yes! 6 threes for Johnny Juzang. And Steve Kerr wants a timeout. Somebody guard that man, he says. Again.
Highlights as the Utah Jazz lose to the Golden State Warriors 118-110. Klay Thompson had 32 points in the game, 25 of them in the first half. And 27 points, a career best for Johnny Juzang. He was 7 of 8 from the three-point line. He was shooting it lights out, PK.
Look at Yak's total and blatant and wanton disrespect. Keontae George paced the Jazz with 25 points.
He's not buying the Johnny Juzang hype. Not buying it.
Johnny Juzang, how I love him. He's Johnny Juzang.
It's a fun name, and it's fun to shoot the ball like that. 9 of 12, 75% from the floor. Beautiful.
He's the best Johnny the Jazz have had since Johnny Stockton.
Sorry, John Collins. Move over. Johnny Juzang has arrived.
I agree.
Yeah. His previous career best was 19. Lit it up with 27. But it doesn't matter. The Jazz get blown out.
Doesn't matter?
Nope, Jazz get blown out.
What are you talking about?
They made it
7:04 on April 8th. Mark it down as the dumbest statement you've ever made in our 22 years. And today is the anniversary of the 22 years.
22 down, launching 23. Here we go, people. Doesn't matter as the Jazz trailed by 19 with 2.5 minutes to go. And then
Johnny Juzang can't help if the other guys suck.
That's a fact. I agree with that. And while the 27 may not matter a lot to the Jazz, it matters to Johnny Juzang, who would like to be in the league next year.
How I love you.
Remind some general managers what you are capable of.
Johnny Juzang would like to be in the league? Like that's an issue, a question?
He is shooting almost 40% from three in his limited playing time this year. But that's a very good number. Jazz are off today. Tomorrow night, they welcome in...
They've been off for weeks.
That's also true. They welcome in the world champion Denver Nuggets to the Delta Center at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. 4 games left. This is the next to last, the penultimate home game. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NBA.
Working on Mobley with 3, right elbow with 2, steps back, his jumper, buries it! Paul George with ice in his veins! Clippers by 2!
Chest it to McCollum. Not much going on here. Back to Z with 5.
Gotta go.
Hard to the rim. Throws it up. Got the roll with a left hand. Oh, my heavens, Williamson. He went through the entire Suns defense.
Shot not quite there yet, but you could still feel his impacts. Here's Brunson in the paint, floats it up and in. And the Knicks are up by 16 points as we approach 2 minutes to play. 43 for Brunson.
And on the hunt, took the contact, floats up the shot. No. Rudy with an offensive rebound. What a job. He was up there. He saw the ball was on the rim. He backed off. He waited for it to come off the rim, grabbed it, then rose and dunked.
Highlights from around the NBA. Dante Exum, a three-pointer at the buzzer to force overtime in Dallas, and his Mavericks dominate in overtime, and they beat Houston 147-133. Houston is eliminated from the postseason. They're all done. Dallas sitting in 5th place in the West right now. Will they draw the Clippers in the playoffs opening round? Clippers beat the Cavs 120-118. And I do think those two are probably going to see each other. Here's the Paul George highlight in there. He had 39 points and 11 boards. Either one of those games impress you? Dante Exum was in your, hey, the best time to shoot is when you absolutely have to mode. Time was running out. No time to dribble or pass. Just let her fly.
Yeah, good for him, man. Finding his way. After, it didn't work well, obviously, with Utah, and then he had a ton of injuries.
Yep. Went to Europe, came back, and is making it work in Dallas. You also heard a Zion Williamson highlight in there. Pelicans beat the Suns 113-105. They are tied for 6th in the West right now. Who plays Denver? Who plays Oklahoma City? Who plays Minnesota? How will they match up when the playoffs get underway?
Who cares?
Think they're all getting beat? Don't trust them anyway?
I think Denver's going to beat those teams you mentioned there.
Timberwolves beat the Lakers. AD got hit in the eye, had a corneal abrasion. He had to leave the game and made it. Apparently, he already had one, so it aggravated it. So, AD and his health and his availability, you don't usually think about the eye as far as availability, but that was the issue for AD last night. Timberwolves beat the Lakers 127-117, tied with Denver for the top spot in the West right now.
Why that one, huh?
Vince Carter, Chauncey Billups headlining the 13-member Hall of Fame class revealed Saturday. Jerry West, Michael Cooper, Bo Ryan, Doug Collins, all among those who will be enshrined this summer.
I don't know about Cooper, man. He was a reserve.
Yeah, seems like a reach.
Yeah, I mean, he's a nice player, and you need those types of players to win titles.
But if they're going to put Michael Cooper in the Hall of Fame, then a lot of people have to go into the Hall of Fame. He had an important role, and he's a popular player, but that's not usually who gets in the Hall of Fame.
I'd put Hornacek in then.
I see you drawing the comparisons.
And Michael Cooper, Pasadena High School. You know. Same high school as Eddie and Alex Van Halen.
Pasadena High's got a few famous people. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college basketball.
And I want to personally thank Caitlin Clark for lifting up our sport. She carried a heavy load for our sport, and it just is not going to stop here on the collegiate tour. But when she is the number one pick in the WNBA draft, she's going to lift that league up as well. So Caitlin Clark, if you're out there, you are one of the GOATs of our games, that we appreciate you.
That is John Staley, South Carolina coach, after South Carolina beat Caitlin Clark in Iowa to win the women's national title for South Carolina. It's a perfect season, 38-0. They've only lost 3 games in 3 years. They've got 2 titles in that span, 3 overall. Dominant. It's good enough for a dynasty, PK? 3 losses, 3 years, 2 titles?
Sure, if you want it to be.
Men's championship game tonight. UConn trying to go back-to-back. They face Purdue. Coverage starts at 5:30 on the Zone. The game will tip at 7:20.
2 hours of pregame?
Yeah. Got some commercials to move here, PK. John Calipari, 15 years as Kentucky Wildcats head coach, and it looks like he's headed to Arkansas for a 5-year deal. $8.5 million, multiple incentives, reportedly $6 million in NIL money. Arkansas won a title 30 years ago. Somebody there thinks John Calipari is the path back to relevancy.
Well, good for them, and if Calipari's decided he wants to move on and get out of the grief he's been taking at Kentucky, I think it could have an effect. I think Mark Pope will get an interview, and then they got to decide what they want. The hottest candidate, I think is Nate Oates at Alabama. And I think if he wants the job, he'll get it.
Build a Final Four team in the SEC. Kentucky's not going to live with that. They'll take your guy.
Yeah, I think if he wants a job, he's the odds-on favorite. I was doing some research and talking to some folks last night at 10:30 at night about this whole thing, and so I think that would be really cool, because if they use their marketing right, Joe B. Hall used to be the head coach, and so you can go from Hall to Oates.
Oh, see what you did there.
Yeah.
Get a little high-tech AI. You could get the two of them together in a
he wanted the job, and he could come in Kentucky people. What I want, you got, and we might be too hot to handle, like a firm that blames a can. You make my dream come true. And then he walks in.
See where you're going there.
Yeah, hauled oats. But I definitely think Pope will get an interview. And he's a salesman. He can spin it. And so he's got an opportunity to present himself. Obviously, he played there. And Pitino endorses him big time. Pitino coached there. So it'd be something to watch. I don't think he's the favorite. I think you might have somebody like a Billy Donovan, too, who actually has taken the Pitino route a little bit.
Gone to the pros. Time to go back to the college ranks.
Yeah.
Stay one step ahead of the posse.
Yes. So those are my guys. I think maybe one of those three will end up being the head coach. We'll see how it plays out. But I definitely think Pope will be spoken to.
You think Pope? Do you think he's in the third spot or the second spot?
I think Nate Oates is the coach that they want. And if Nate Oates wants the job, it doesn't matter who's second, third, fourth, fifth. So I think Nate is the guy. Yeah. And I have no idea if he wants the job. He might think...
Does he want to stay at Alabama where he's built something?
Yeah.
Or does he want to move to Kentucky where there seem to be built-in advantages?
Well, I mean, but he's created advantages.
He has. He just got Alabama to the Final Four.
Yeah. And they're a basketball school now with Saban gone.
That's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, but this is a landscape-moving type decision by Calipari because you normally don't see coaches go in the same conference. And he's doing it. And I think it might be somewhat, at this point, from what I understand, it might be a little bit along the lines of mutual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't want to have to fire you, but we're not going to be sad if you move along, so.
Right, and there's some massive buyout or something, so.
So this is all the dominoes, right? SMU changes coaches, so USC changes coaches, so Arkansas changes coaches, so Kentucky changes coaches.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And now we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah, but
Alabama.
Pope will be in the running.
Yeah. All right, DJ and PK.
Hashtag NFL.
Miami Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill made some posts on social media that seemed to indicate Odell Beckham Jr. was set to join him in Miami as a free agent signing, coming off a season with the Baltimore Ravens. But OBJ posted, LOL, I'm confused today. Did I sign somewhere? Buddy, everybody keep hitting me. So, remember back in the day when a writer would write this and be irresponsible and sources or somebody was misquoted? And now guys are just throwing stuff out there on social media unprompted on their own. You got to keep these guys away from the media. They're making bad news. You can't keep people away from their own social media. What is OBJ doing? Stand by.
Which one is hooked up with Kim Kardashian? I can't keep track these days.
Me neither.
Is it OBJ?
I want to say you're right.
Yeah. I don't know what everybody means.
I think it's supposed to be everybody, and he missed a couple letters, or I don't know. Maybe that's how you put it out there on social media.
I'm sure
I copied it verbatim.
Copied it verbatim.
Well, I don't know about that. I think it was more word for word, but
Hey-o.
I don't think he left out letters on purpose.
Former Texas Longhorn standout Devondre Sweat was arrested in Austin, Texas yesterday on a charge of driving while intoxicated. Sweat's a top defensive tackle, NFL draft prospect. He won the Outland Trophy, and he'll have to answer that with NFL people. May have just hurt his draft stock big time.
Is he good enough? Because if he's good enough, it ain't here. Didn't the 49ers a few years back have a guy on Tuesday and he played on Saturday?
Once you're under contract, yeah. But before you're under contract, do they want to roll the dice
If you're
on you?
good enough, yes. This is the NFL. They care about winning. Come on.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
And the pitch hit in the air to deep left. It is high. It is far. It is gone. It's a grand slam. And the Yankees take a 5-1 lead.
Swinging a drive toward left center field. That's in the gap. That's a base hit. Going all the way to the wall. 2 runs are in. Here comes Swanson. The relay by Betts to the plate. Not in time. 3-run double. Michael Busch. Cubs lead 3-0.
There's a line drive pretty deep to left. Back forward is Duran. It's gone. has his first homer this year at Angel Stadium. His fourth of the year overall. The Angels are on the board.
That was a rocker where at one point there was the trout farm right there where he hit that baseball out.
Highlights from Major League Baseball. The Yankees beat the Blue Jays 8-3. Giancarlo Stanton with the grand slam to help blow that thing wide open. The Pittsburgh Pirates beat the Orioles 3-2. They walk it off. They improve to 8-2 on the season. A great start for the Pirates. Also heard Michael Busch, bases clearing double. Cubbies handling the Dodgers easily, 8-1. Dodgers drop to 8-4. Merely fantastic. No longer red hot, PK. You win 2 out of 3 all year long. You still win over 100 games. So
I think Busch was a first-round pick of the Dodgers about 5 years ago. It's considered a big-time prospect. So he exacts some revenge.
Red Sox handle the Angels 12-2. Blowout there. And congrats to the Marlins. Miami has win number 1 after 9 straight losses to open the season. Say goodbye to 0-9. They're now 1-9. They beat the Cardinals 10-3. Salt Lake Bees split a doubleheader with Tacoma, lost 6-1, then won 2-1. Bees are off now to go play in Las Vegas for a 6-game series. DJ and PK.
Hashtag RSL.
You put the ball in dangerous areas enough. And again, I think at times our defensive shape was a bit compromised. I think they did a good job of finding space between our midfield line and our back line. We always wanted to put pressure on the ball. The problem with that is when you're not getting pressure on the ball, then you're forced to drop and cede space. And then it becomes a vicious cycle.
A late goal for Minnesota, and they end up splitting the points with RSL. The game finishes 1-1. RSL, kind of similar to St. Louis, scored first, had the lead for a while, couldn't hold on, give up the goal, and so turned 3 points in the road into just 1. However, they are unbeaten in the last 3 games and off to a pretty good start, tied for third in the West right now on 11 points. They're coming home to host the Columbus Crew, the defending MLS Cup champs, next week. DJ and PK.
Batia takes the putter back, strokes it down the line to the cup, dripped it in, and he looks up to the sky and survives every imaginable obstacle to win the 2024 Valero Texas Open.
Akshay Bhatia, the winner on the first playoff hole in San Antonio. He beats Denny McCarthy, gets himself into the field of the Masters this week with his second career victory. Former BYU golfer Peter Quest finishes tied for 10th at 6 under after being a Monday qualifier into the event. Patrick Fishburne and Zach Blair missed the cut. And now the world moves on to the Masters. We will have Bob Harig, Sports Illustrated golf writer and author of Drive, The Lasting Legacy of Tiger Woods. He will join us coming up at 7:30, so just about 10 minutes from now. Also, John Rahm called for the Live Golf to make a move to the traditional 72-hole format in their tournaments as a move to help in talks to reunify the PGA Tour and Live Golfers in an interview with the BBC. The closer I think we can get Live Golf to some other things, the better. I think it'd be for some kind of unification to feed into a world tour or something like that. Play 72, not 54, John Rahm says. Although that was one of the big attractions, that and the money, when they tried to pull players away from the PGA Tour. But Rahm is ready for them to modify things and unify things.
Me too.
That is what is trending. There are your headlines. Bob Harig's coming up in 10 minutes. Steve Cleveland, former BYU and Fresno State basketball coach, at 9 o'clock to talk about tonight's title game with UConn and Purdue. DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We're joined now by Bob Harig, Sports Illustrated golf writer, longtime writer for ESPN and the Tampa Bay Times as well. He's covered Tiger Woods since the beginning of his pro career, and he's got a book out. Actually a second book out on him, and he joins us now. Bob, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Thanks a lot for having me.
Thanks for coming on. So Drive is tied into the 5-year anniversary of Tiger's 2019 Masters victory. I'm curious, for a guy who has lived his life in the spotlight, in the golf spotlight since he was a teenager, How much more is there to know about him, especially considering he does try to keep as low a profile as possible and say as little as possible at times? Is he at a point in his life where he feels a little more expansive? Is this nuggets that have been observed along the way and maybe we just haven't seen them all? What was your approach going into this book?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's the challenge. I mean, Tiger is not a forthcoming guy. He wasn't adversarial, but he did not cooperate, and he didn't with the first book I did. It's mostly reporting from being there, talking to others who have been around him, obviously all the people that he's played against, his coaches, his caddies. And, you know, the book is tied to the 5-year anniversary of the Masters win 2019, which was incredible. But that victory also kind of was a highlight of it was an example of, frankly, the book's title, Drive. He's had this amazing resiliency that other players, other people we just don't have. We don't have that kind of fight due to human nature. And Tiger has shown that numerous times throughout his career. And I sort of try to make the argument that he wouldn't have the record he has without it. I mean, certainly his skill, his ability, his talent was going to take him a long way, but it wasn't going to take him all the way. And, Tiger fighting back after back surgery, Tiger, frankly, numerous occasions of 142 straight cuts, winning the Masters after shooting 40 for his first 9 holes. I sort of recount all these examples in his career of his amazing resiliency, his amazing never quit attitude.
Is it true? Did I read that he shot a 31 in secrecy at the Masters the other day?
If he did, I have not heard that. He was here. I'm in Augusta now. He was here on March 30th to play a practice round. It was the first time he had come up this spring. He played with Fred Ridley, the chairman of the club, and Justin Thomas. And I think that was more just get familiar with the course again round. At times, Tiger has played incredibly well in those tournaments, which is, impressive. But I did not hear a score. We'll get to ask him tomorrow. He's on the course now, practicing today. He came up yesterday and just walked around the course and with a putter and a couple of wedges, and just didn't even hit full shots. Just worked on his short game around the course.
Given all he's been through and all the surgeries he's had, what percentage of he is he now of what he was? How good could he possibly be?
It's probably a fraction of what he was before. Unfortunately, I mean, he's still got back problems, which are ongoing, on and off. Certainly for a golfer who's 48 years old. And then there's the lower right leg. He about a year ago, not long after the Masters, he had a fusion surgery on his right ankle. So basically, that solidified it. That was meant to sort of, I guess sort of like the fusion in the back. It was like to make it more solid, but it obviously took away a ton of flexibility. And so he can walk a lot better. But he's certainly not got the mobility that he had before that allows him to push off on that ankle. I happen to think it's why Tiger, if you look, he's pretty bulked up. I think he feels he needs to use his upper body to get the ball out there, and he still can. He was at Riviera earlier this year. He didn't stay long because he got sick. He had the flu. But Tiger was pounding the ball out there. There was no problem with that. It's just the whole issue of, can he get to the ball? Can he walk properly? And obviously a golf course like Augusta is incredibly hilly and challenging, and it's not exactly the easiest place for a guy like Tiger to play golf at this moment.
Using Scheffler as the reason I'm asking this question, how much can the greens at Augusta get into your head?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and that's kind of Scotty Scheffler's issue these days. The greens are they're a challenge. They certainly they're very, very fast. There's a lot of undulation, a lot of hills, and you have to learn them to be able to read them. Most players will say they don't see the breaks in these putts that are there, and it takes a lot of knowledge. You have to have sort of been around for a while. So if you've got any kind of demons in your head over putting, it's not the greatest place to come because you can get a little squeamish, and that's where Scheffler's shown some vulnerability. Now, in the last month or so, obviously he's putted a lot better. He won 2 tournaments. He had a great chance to win in Houston and had about an 8 or 9 footer on the last hole to tie and missed it. So his putting, if Scheffler's putting is just average, he'll be in contention. His putting has been way below average, and he's still been in contention a lot. So this is it'll be interesting to see how he handles the greens. He hits a lot of greens, which is always a big stat at the Masters. Usually the guy who wins is top 2 or 3 in greens in regulation. That's not always the case at other tournaments, but it usually is at the Masters.
Do you think the LIV guys are being tested and pushed enough with how they play when they come to somewhere like Augusta to handle it and to win? Or do you think the odds are heavily stacked now in favor of the guys who are on the PGA Tour?
I mean, that was a big question going into the Masters last year. They had only played 3 tournaments going into the Masters. Most guys are going to play 4, 5, or 6 at least before the Masters rolls around from the start of the year. But, look at what happened. Rahm wasn't with LIV then, but Koepka and Mickelson were tied for second, and Patrick Reed was tied for 4th. So I don't think the layoff or the lack of golf hurt them that much. This year they've all played 5 times, 5 LIV events. They just played last week in Miami at Doral on a tough course. It's hard to say. Brooks Koepka shot 77-77 over the weekend at Doral. I kind of like him this week, but I don't know what that means. Like, is something off? Or I actually was down there for a few days, and I watched him a little bit, and I thought he looked good. So I don't know if something came up or what, but I think that last year sort of put that aside. These guys are pro golfers. They know how to prepare. There's other ways to get ready. If they'd have played only 1 or 2 tournaments, that would be a problem. But they've all played enough, I think, to come here ready to go. And then it's just a matter of, are they playing well enough? Is their game strong enough?
I don't think, obviously, that it applies in this situation at this week, and there'll be 3 other majors to go after this week. But we've heard some talk about declining interest in the game of golf because of the 2 factions. How much do you buy it?
I do buy it. I think there's a fatigue about talking about this issue, about money. The whole money issue has turned people off. I understand why we're at this point. The stars of the game for long before LIV sort of were advocating for, why are you not taking care of the stars? And, it is a sport where, as much money as Tiger has made, you could argue that he's been underpaid from the tournament winnings perspective, because if you don't perform, you don't get paid. If Steph Curry goes 0 for 12, he still gets paid. But in golf, it doesn't work that way. And yet Tiger might have sold all the tickets, but if he misses the cut, he gets 0. And there had been this shift. But now I think what's happened is it's probably gone too far. And, obviously what the LIV guys are getting is frankly, it's obscene, the amount of money some of them are making. And now the tour has funneled all this money to their players to sort of try to make up for it. I think people are tired of hearing about it. Another factor, though, that's maybe hurt is the stars on the PGA Tour this year have not stepped up. Scheffler's just recently has won. Wyndham Clark won at Pebble Beach, but that tournament didn't even play on Sunday. It got rained out. They canceled the final round due to weather. Rory, JT, Jordan Spieth, Ricky Fowler, Victor Hovland, Patrick Cantlay, Schauffele. None of those guys, they're not winning. They're not up there enough. And I think, the sport kind of needs its stars to be in contention a little more often. So that has not helped either.
It seems like a common thread across many sports. The money is so big, and guys have interest in doing other things with their lives, or the sports change. But in baseball, starting pitchers used to be stars, and you'd go to see whoever the star pitcher was. And now guys are getting pulled after, 4 1/3 innings. Well, you're not the hero getting big outs in the 7th, 8th, and 9th. You're gone by the 6th. And in the NBA, we know how often stars are sitting in the NBA. It's nonstop before you look at a score and think, wow, that's a surprise. You better find out if the top guys played. And with LIV, guys want to play 54 holes, not 72. If you're not following it really close, you don't know which week LIV is even playing or if they're off this week. This seems like a problem across a lot of sports. Is there anyone talking about any solutions to it?
Listen, as a guy who lives in the Tampa Bay area and follows the Tampa Bay Rays, I know all about the opener. And to your point about starting pitching, it's a great point. Fans love to go watch the starting pitchers, and now they've almost become role players. And in golf, you're right. LIV only plays 14 events. You have to be pretty tuned in to know when they're playing. You have to be paying attention. Before they just played Miami, they went overseas. They played in Jeddah and they played in Hong Kong. Their tournaments weren't even available live on TV. That you could get them on an app, but you couldn't see it live on TV, and sort of out of sight, out of mind. Especially for us, for Americans mostly. That appeals to I will say, LIV does appeal to an international audience that feels starved, that they don't get to see the star players very often. We're spoiled in the U.S. We get to see them on our time zones, and we can get to those tournaments. But golf has an issue right now. So much of sports has become about entertainment and appeasing a wide audience. And sometimes I think what gets lost is the actual competition. This is still a competitive environment, and those things are important too.
Is Dick Vitale the biggest celebrity who roots for the Rays?
He probably is. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, Dick Vitale goes to a lot of Rays games and laments some of this stuff we're talking about. I think I've seen him on Twitter talking about pulling the pitchers and stuff. It's kind of funny.
Bob Harig joining us, Sports Illustrated golf writer. You got 2 books. You got the Drive book with Tiger that is out right now. Before that, you wrote a book about Tiger and Phil. Now, obviously, early on, there's going to be a lot of tension, right? Because they're fighting for the same thing and their spot in the sport. It seemed like somehow, as they got older, they reached some middle ground. Maybe they weren't best friends, but at least they were able to play like they enjoyed each other's company on TV, and maybe there was more to it. But now Tiger's so invested in the PGA Tour and Phil's so invested in LIV. Has it gone full circle? Are they butting heads, or it's the Godfather and it's just business? It's not personal?
No, I think they're butting heads. But, frankly, I don't think they speak. When I was writing that book, it was before LIV started. And I sort of was surmising that they would kind of ride off into the sunset as kind of like Jack and Arnie did. Jack and Arnie were rivals, and then they became, they softened. As you get older, those competitions are in the background. I could frankly probably write a couple more chapters to that Tiger Phil book because I would say that their rivalry has intensified off the course in a different way. Phil, obviously, his legacy is going to be looked at a lot different because of what he did with LIV. Tiger's been a firm and staunch supporter in the PGA Tour and its legacy. And they've gone down different paths. And, the idea of them ever playing together again, it would be wild if they somehow got paired together at the Masters based on scores. Augusta would never put them in the same group right now. But, based on score, they could be. And that would be wild. but they've definitely gone their different paths now, and where that goes now, I think a lot depends on if the sides ever come together.
Well, Bob, we appreciate the time. Enjoy the Augusta and the Masters, and good luck with the book Drive about Tiger Woods. We appreciate it. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Bob Harig, Sports Illustrated golf writer, and you can check out his book Drive. All right, DJ and PK, we got to take a break. Yak, you got something to give away?
Yeah, you know what we do with you win a
golf. It's time.
We're back.
Be caller 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE, 801-575-ZONE, and get your assigned golfer for the Uinta Golf Masters giveaway. It's all brought to you by Uinta Golf, simply the best golf stores in Utah since 1971. The band of the day today is the Eagles, and it's brought to you by Live Nation. For all the live concerts and events in 2024, check out livenation.com.
Yeah, I used to like these guys back in the day.
Used to?
Hey, lighten up.
Hey, I was looking for people. I'm like, you know what? PK's back. Let's get some Eagles for him today.
Sedona. The people don't know that I was gone, but this is in homage to Sedona, Arizona, even though they say Winslow, Arizona, because they were coming over from the northern part of Los Angeles. So you come across, I think it's I-40 on the way to Sedona, and you go through Winslow. I think this defines their sound, even though obviously Hotel California is their big famous one.
But this is the Eagles vibe. This is it right here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can feel it.
Yeah. And if you
want
to
to been
know,
to the corner because they've got the public art now and all that, and you got the photos and all that.
Well, I lived in Flagstaff for 2 years.
When did that go up? How long has that been there?
Flagstaff's been there for years.
That's not the question. You know it, but thank you. Flagstaff's got Stagecoach Stop written all over it. So, yes. Flagstaff.
I don't know when it went up.
Oh, really?
I can't. I would assume sometime in the 80s, but I don't know. After they made it gigantically huge and huger.
Somebody in Winslow had it. Hey, I got an idea.
Yes, and if you want to know why I'm a big Old Dominion fan, it's this song. Old Dominion is just these guys today of what I grew up with.
Yeah. We just spoke with Bob Harig, Sports Illustrated golf writer. He's got a book out on Tiger Woods. And he brought up the point that Tiger was probably underpaid. He elevated the sport. Everybody made money off him. And we got a question up on Facebook. Why did Caitlin Clark get so much flack? Isn't Caitlin Clark making everybody associated with women's basketball a lot of money? I mean, she's raising a profile, and either what she's done already or what we expect her to do as a pro, and I guess with health, you never know, but what we expect her to do as a pro to one degree or another.
Oh, that'll be interesting because I don't think she's making everybody money because there's so many participants. In golf, it's a fraction of the people compared to all these studs that are involved in women's basketball. I'm not sure that she will because you're speaking of the WNBA as she goes on, and Indiana Fever have the number one pick here, and obviously they'll take her. Way to go, and away you go. I think she'll make Indiana some money for sure, but the sport isn't really set up to succeed at its highest level.
Playing in the summer.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just
indoor sports are set up for the winter, and outdoor sports are set up for the summer.
Right.
But this has been a summer league forever, and it's the economics that NBA wants to fill arenas in the summer. So a lot of these arenas, not all of them, but a lot of them have the NHL and the NBA and don't need a third tenant in the winter.
Yeah. It's sort of off the radar a little bit. Certainly the regular season is, maybe in the playoff. But it'd be cool if she could elevate the sport, that particular league, rather than the sport. She's already elevated the sport of women's basketball. I don't think there's any question about that. It's a question of, can she elevate this particular league? That remains to be seen as far as that goes, because a lot of these great college players, you follow them and you're aware of them in college, and then they go off and it seems like, and then when the Olympics happen, well, then we're really tuned into it. But I'm not sure. Hopefully she can. That'd be great. More power to it, man. It would be fun for that league to rise up. But if you go by the TV rating and all that stuff, they make a big deal about the TV rating for the women's game, and that's awesome. But then you look at the women's game at the pro level, and it doesn't correspond.
It does not. But whatever she's able to do for it incrementally, I mean, she's going to sell tickets. It's also a smaller league. I think they only have a dozen teams, don't they?
I don't know.
And so,
I've been
come
following
to a town
women's
near you.
volleyball for 30 years.
That
not women's.
That a kid. Good for you.
I told people that. You're so full of crap. You couldn't name me one volleyball player in the entire college ranks, and you follow women's volleyball. That took the cake. It took 22 years, but you finally outdone yourself.
Hey, I got year 23 and 24. Don't count me out.
So we'll see. I mean, she has brought untold amounts of attention, and it's really cool. She's a fun player to watch. I don't get why her older peers, in the basketball sense, they all took shots at her.
Scotty says it's jealousy.
It appeared to be.
Chowder says haters gonna hate.
Didn't make any sense to me. Why those ex-UConn players were on there just dogging her. Why?
She beat UConn.
So what?
UConn's lost other games. They don't win it every year. They win it a lot, but they don't win it every year.
Yeah, and then that controversial call and the moving screen and all that. And I love all these men, these media guys just chiming in. What they're really saying is, look at me, man. I just support women's sports so much. That's what they're doing. They never said anything before, and now all of a sudden they're into it.
Yep. A lot of people got into it. I mean, that was a lot of people watching the game.
But the sports media guys, when you tweet about it, it's really, look at me. I'm so progressive. Come on.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. When we come back, the Utah Jazz, 12 in a row. How much more of this can you take? We will get to that next. Stay with us.